Welcome to Making Miracles Happen. This is my birthday edition. I am celebrating by having some of the most awesome people on this planet here with me today. I'm having so much fun. I've been laughing a lot. I've been learning a lot, and I know you guys are having a great time with me. And I have another guest here today. So could you please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people what it is that you do?
All right. Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Uh, my name is Pam Perry, and people call me a PR angel because I help people manifest media, i.e., I'm a publicist. And I'm also a publisher of Speakers Magazine as well. And I also have a podcast called Get Out There and Get Known, because that's what I want people to do, to get out there and get known. So really that's my thing. Pam Perry, a lot of P's in there. You got a publicist, you got a podcaster, you got a publisher. So if you remember anything, you remember a whole bunch of P's. And I don't know how that just happened. Maybe I should write a book with like the book of P's or something. I don't know. But
Seriously, like word association. Now I will remember that.
And I like pink.
Oh, and you're wearing pink. Look at you. You love pink. I am very interested in knowing how you got into this business. And I have so many questions about this afterwards, but that's like my most important question right now is like, how do you get into this?
So everybody has like a gift, I guess you would say, or a bend. And my bend was always promoting events or things that if something was good, I would tell other people about it, and I'd want to tell more people about it, and just really like, how do you get this word out? And that's always been my thing. So I grew up next door to a pastor. My pastor was like a second father to me, and he had a great church, and I thought he preached very well. He had great messages. So my main thing was always to share and to let people know. I would do flyers, I would do posters, I would do mailings, I go door to door. This was unsolicited, right? He didn't ask me to do this. This is like as a
Oh,
kid.
wow.
As a kid. And I remember just designing them and making them real pretty and just trying to get people to go, because I just felt like if they go, they would have their life changed. So that's really how it started. And I remember he said to me one day, he says, "You're going to do PR for Jesus." I was like, "What is PR?" He says, "Public relations." I was like, "Oh." He says, "You're like the publicist." I'm like, at this time, obviously, he's a doctor, he's a PhD, and he knew what that was. I'm a teenager. I had no idea what that really meant. And I looked it up and I said, okay, that does sound like something I would like. So I went to school, majored in journalism. When I got out of school, I started working at the Detroit Free Press, which is a newspaper. And I really, again, I went into the advertising department, but when I would call on my clients, they would have like really, really good businesses. I says, "You really need to tell someone about your business. Let's do a story about you." And I wasn't my job, became their promoter, like telling the reporters about them, telling other people about them. So it was just natural. That was what I did. Fast forward years later, been doing this 3 decades, and I promoted everything from McDonald's to Dunkin' Donuts to African American Museum to a lot of speakers and authors. Those are my favorite, speakers and authors. So that's really what I've been concentrating on in the last 20 years, is working with speakers and authors. Again, if I know someone has a great book or they have a great message, I'm their hype girl.
You know this is a personality type nowadays, right? They have you take the test. I think it's actually called the promoter. And I haven't taken the test. I've like read about it and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, that's who I am, because I'm one of those people that as soon as I know somebody's business that I really love or anything like that, I'm gonna tell everybody about it and make them so much money just because I'm excited to like share that information. And I used to have a PR company. I had one for a little while because I loved talking about people, and it was fun. It was fun to do. And so that's why my next question is coming up, which is, my God, way back in the day, like getting, whether it's yourself PR or somebody else PR, it was almost like you could send in like a letter, or you could send in like an email, and you'd get a magazine or whatnot. And things have changed so much, because even like magazines aren't necessarily physical anymore. Like I honestly, and I'm genuinely asking you this because I got out of it because it started getting so confusing, because it was like, I'm in a generation where like old school and everything's changing. I don't know what to do. So how how are you going with the changes? Like, how much has changed since you've been actually following the changes and working with the changes?
So initially, I got in the business, and so I had, at this point, before computers, like Selectric typewriters. So that's how long I've been in it. So then it came to the point where there were PCs, and you could, at that point, I had like a computer, and it was like my own computer. Oh my God. And so we would send releases out via fax. It was really cool to have a fax blast, right? That was like the big thing. So you would load up your computer, load up your fax machine, and one button, it'll fax to everybody. Then it became the point where you would email it to everyone. It's like, wow. Then it became, this is like 2000, then 2002, 3, and 4, social media was the big thing. And people were in the traditional media put their nose up to the bloggers, people who did Facebook, people who had MySpace. I mean, it was like, oh, that's going to go away. Those bloggers will go away. And little did they know that it didn't, because I saw it as an opportunity, especially working with speakers and authors, that they can go directly to their market, right? So they
Yep.
can create a page and they can go and speak directly to their customer. And I realized that as a publicist, they could do that, but they needed to have their hand held a little bit. So you still have to write the release, you still have to get content that's written well and that sort of thing, but you have to show them how. So I really went from doing it so much for corporations and companies to teaching speakers and authors how to do it themselves online. And so the online thing changed and it evolved. So I was one of the, I mean, they didn't even really want to do Facebook, or they were scared, because I work with a lot of ministries. They were scared to get online. Ooh, I was like, no, you got to get online. And I really started showing them how to use email marketing, how to use constant contact. Way back then, I don't use that anymore, but how to really do newsletters online. Everything was online. So it was switching. Press releases changed too, because remember, PR Newswire then was always around, but then everybody was using it for SEO at this point,
Yeah.
because now you can Google it and find the press release, or it'll go straight to the newsroom from PR Newswire. And that's how everybody was getting their information. They're getting it online. They are looking at the SEO, the bloggers. We would pitch bloggers, those little bloggers that would go away. No, they didn't go away. They became strong and mighty. So we were pitching bloggers. We were pitching, they didn't call them influencers, but people who had radio shows,
Yep.
podcasters. It's just, it became an army of, even though they were smaller, it wasn't like a New York Times or that sort of thing, but it had juice because it was Googleable. If you could find it online, it's in your computer, and smartphones and mobile devices became the thing. So it has changed. It's fun, because if it didn't change, I would be bored. So, because you've been doing it so long. So it always feels like I have a new career. So right now, the thing that is new and hot, that I'm teaching clients, is Clubhouse. How to really leverage Clubhouse, right? How do you go about doing it? Now, they've already done podcasts, and that's a little bit different, but how do you do a Clubhouse? And so one of the things I said, now, if you want to build a Clubhouse brand, this is what you do. You need to have a club that matches this and that. You need to bring on people like you're going to interview, make sure that they bring on people, so it's a whole new thing. It's a way, it's the same thing. Like, as a publicist, you're always doing the same thing. It's just different ways of really sharing the message. And that's what's fun. That's like the fun part. So before, we were doing videos, right? So we'll just do a video and we'll just load up to YouTube. But now it's like TikTok, then reels. I mean, so it's always changing. And so it's like, well, how do you use that? I have a client that just got her account back because she had said something on her Instagram that they didn't like. If you don't own the platform, they can shut you down. Well, anyway, she did an appeal, and they opened it back up. And now I think she got like 25,000 followers in one day on Instagram. That's more than most newspaper circulation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So It's like 25,000 people in one day,
A lot.
25,000. So you can see it's really about eyes and ears, eyeballs and ears, who's watching, who's listening. And so as a publicist, someone who's trained as a publicist, it's still the same. You still have the same type of way that you're doing things. You still have to write the who, what, when, where, and why.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you do that, but it's in a different kind of way in terms of putting it out in tactics. Do it in a blog, do it in a TikTok, do it in a Instagram carousel. I mean, it's so many more options,
You
and people
know,
get
it's really interesting because, it has evolved so much and you have been able to keep up with it. And you just mentioned it, like somebody just got taken off of Instagram and then they had to
Mhm.
like make an appeal to get it back. And so what I've realized is there's so many companies on Facebook. There's so many companies on YouTube. There's so many companies. And I remember when one of my clients who was really big at the time, he was a big YouTuber and his account got hacked. And he said, do you know how lucky I am to get my account back? Because people who get hacked and lose their account, YouTube does not help them get their account
Yeah,
back. And
no.
he was like, I had a connection and my connection helped me. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking over the years, right? How people, and even now, like people losing their businesses on, I know people who lost their businesses on Facebook here recently. Facebook just getting rid of people, right? So you're a publicist, you're helping people get known, you're helping people get out there. Do you push for people to like gain an email list, or are you just kind of like, oh, we're just going with the social media of the time and what you do?
Never, never. It would be like I would tell people, well, you should go rent. You should go rent. No, I want you to own. It's like you don't rent. When you go on social media, you're renting. You don't own that. At any point in time, they can kick you off and you don't own anything. So, yes, you should own your own website. Make sure that you have your own domain name, that you own that your server, that you are secure with your server, that you don't have a outside person, you're paying someone else for your service. You're paying a company. You don't pay another person. You don't go through third. I make sure that
Um,
people own their own podcasts, right? That they have their own RSS feed. I make sure that people own their own YouTube channel by having a G Suite. A G Suite is like you're paying for that, not just a Gmail. The more you pay, the more access you will have to customer service and that sort of thing. So you know that you own it. If you have a Gmail, yeah, something goes wrong, maybe you won't get any help. If you have a G Suite, because it's a business account, you will get help. So I always tell people, do that, build your email list. So the whole purpose of social media agent is really to drive traffic to the website. And the website is your home. So you're out here in the cocktail party and you're just like, hey, I'm having a party. Come over to my house later, and we'll meet up there. Make sure you put your name and your email address in there so that we could talk later. It's like that's your home. That is your home base. Everything else is just like for fluff, just to get people to that. So I always explain to people, because once they're on your email list, you can talk to them personally. You can communicate with them.
oh,
You can even email them and say, hey, I'm setting up a conference call. Here's my calendar. Set up a time. Send me reply back. Send me your phone number, whatever. So I always know social media is here to stay, but they can kick you off. They can kick
and
you off.
and they can get shut down because Vines. Remember
Oh yeah,
Vine?
they
My
were yeah.
daughter was big on, oh my God, you got to see this Vine. People start uploading their Vines to YouTube. And then all of a sudden she was like, oh no, Vines isn't anymore. They shut down and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Like this
shut
thing
down.
was huge and now it's gone.
Yes, it was people were buying sensations and they're gone. And so it's like anything. There was another platform called Blab that was around and people put a lot of stuff on there. I remember putting something on I think it was a website called Posterous or something like that, and it got shut down. It was like gone.
I never even
There was
heard of
another
it.
one called Friend Feed. There was one called Friend Feed, gone. Google Plus, gone.
Gone.
Um, so all
MySpace.
yeah, MySpace. Well, MySpace is still around, but just nobody's on it. But yeah.
MySpace was where I started building like my celebrity clientele. It's literally where I started building like my bigger business. And then all of a sudden it was like everybody's like, oh no, we're on Facebook now. And I'm like, Wait, what just like I can't
Yes.
say I was in the beginning of it because there are a lot of the stuff that you're naming I don't even know about, but I felt like I was in the beginning of social media when you learn that you can get kicked off of it or it will end, or if
Yeah.
you have your business on social media, you could be screwed.
And MySpace was harder because remember you had to customize the background. You had to know a little bit of HTML, a little bit. It was that's why it got kind of crazy with MySpace. It's like, you know what? I don't want to learn HTML. I don't want to what they call like trick out my MySpace.
Yes. And
Mhm.
it got so
Facebook was just
bad,
really, yeah, Facebook is just like this is what you do. Put up a picture,
very
put it
simple.
very simple. Well, it was. Now it's
It
not so
was,
simple
yeah.
anymore.
Back then I remember it got so bad that you go on people's pages and your computer would freeze up because
Hmm.
people didn't know what they were doing and they were just putting so much stuff on there that literally you couldn't even scroll through it. And so I was like paying professionals to like help me get my stuff together. Like I remember this is so
That was,
crazy. And
yeah.
that is why it's so important to have somebody like you, and I want to push this for people, is why it's so important to hire somebody who can teach you how to do it or who is doing it for you however you run your business, because there's so much to know and there's so much to learn that can help you
Mhm.
really scale your business.
Yeah.
And
And I learned this the hard way. Yeah.
yeah, that's what I was just getting ready to say, is like doing it the way I used to do it back then, and how I actually had to learn how to do PR so I could do, because we did red carpets and everything. Like I had to learn everything from scratch just because I was having so much fun doing it. But it was such a learning curve, and it would have been so much easier just to hire somebody to like teach me like what do I need to do, what do I need to know, and then even learn to like build an email list, know to have your website and everything so that you own everything, because I never thought about it as ownership. Like when
Yeah.
you're on social media and your business on social media, you don't own your business.
Mm-mm. No, no. That is
That's
like
such a
one
crazy
of the
idea.
key things. And I had someone the other day that called me and they said, I really want some PR and I really want this and get a podcast going. I want this and this. And they didn't have a website. And so I'm having someone just throw it together for me. I'm like, no, I said, that's really your main thing. Don't just throw it together. Your website is your home. That's like saying I'm going all this trouble to pick this paint out for my house, but I'm just throw this house together, but the color is really great. I'm like, no, you need to have the foundation right. So I do teach people why they need certain things, what tools to use, why use this versus that, why this email versus this, why this service versus that. And once you know the why, you kind of know like, okay, I understand, because then you can scale. They can scale better versus like, well, I went because I tell everybody, I said you could Jimmy rig anything up on the internet. You could just
Yeah.
Jimmy rig anything up. It could work, doing whatever, like band-aids. I said, but when you start to scale or say, well, you know what, let's add this to it, or I want to do this, I want to do a sales funnel or whatever. And you can't because you don't have the right tools. You didn't start out the right way. So you can't add that to your website because maybe you have a Wix website and the plugin you want to use is only for WordPress. Oh,
Mm.
I want to do this, but you can't because you can't do that because you have a ClickFunnels and ClickFunnels doesn't coincide with this. So I always tell people, I said, it's you can make anything work online and it looks good from the front end. I said, but the back end, when you want to scale or you want to add something to it and you can't and you're mad and it's like, wow, I got to take this apart now. I said, So I try to teach that in my I have a program called Ready, Set, Go, Speak, because people always think they're more ready than they are. So I always tell them, I said, let's get ready. Let's get ready. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So let's get this part really, really good. And that whole part of really the foundational pieces, understanding your market, understanding who do you need for what do you need to focus on. So many people focus on the wrong thing, and it's like, I just don't have time. I don't have time. What are you doing? I spent 8 hours on Instagram. Why? It's like, why?
Why? Oh,
Yeah, it's like that's why you don't have time. That's why you're not making money in your business. It's like I would rather you spend 8 hours investigating media outlets that maybe you can either get on, write for, or pitch. Okay. Because if you find the right ones, it'll get you so much more press and publicity and notoriety than your Instagram, which is what your competitors looking at it, your friends looking at
yeah, that's true.
it.
You like some of the stuff that you're bringing up is really pushing some what I thought was knowledge buttons, and you're like, no, you don't know. And some of my belief systems here. I got some questions for you. So number one, I and I know that this is true, but the way that you are bringing it up, it feels like it's true, but it may be wrong. So there's a lot of people pushing the idea that you don't need a website to be successful on the internet. You could go through ClickFunnels, you could go through social media, like there's all these places you can go. And you are sitting here saying on several different occasions, you need to have your own website. So is it important to be like, no, you can't just use ClickFunnels, you can't just do this, you can't just do that. You really need to focus on having your own space here and now before you do anything else.
And the person who owns ClickFunnels probably would say that you could use ClickFunnels. Why? Because they're going to make money using ClickFunnels. so, so anybody else who says that you need ClickFunnels, check and see if they're an affiliate of ClickFunnels, right? Because they probably are. So they're going to push it because they get money paid for it. And it does look like it's up there and it's working. But what happens is that if ClickFunnels decides to go out of business, all your stuff is just in these ClickFunnels, right? You don't own it. Or what's worse is that ICE lead pages too. I'm going to pick on ClickFunnels. Lead pages, the same thing. That once they have an event or whatever, and maybe they have this event, and then the event is over, they don't pay the ClickFunnels that month, or they don't pay the lead pages anymore because the event is over, but that URL is out there. So I click on it, I can't even get to the person whose event it was. Maybe I'm trying to find them for something else, and the page is like not to be found. It's just a ClickFunnels advertising now. Versus if it had been on your site, at least they could go to your contact page, and it's just part of your overall brand. It's your store. I consider ClickFunnels as like, in lead pages, those are temporary fixes, but you can really create your own quote unquote landing page in your website. Your website, you can do a lot with it. You can make it look like a ClickFunnels if you wanted to look like it. If you're young, and maybe you just want to sell, I don't know, earrings or whatever, that's fine. I mean, you're not trying to scale a 6-figure, 7-figure business. So that's fine. But if you really do, I mean, Target doesn't have ClickFunnels. It's like companies don't use these things. If you want to run
They
your
have
business,
commercials and email list.
yes,
That's really funny because people are just like, what do you mean email list? Like a lot of
Wayfair.
Here, let me tell you what my biggest issue with people are right now. So you see, I'm doing this show. I need to find speakers for my show, right? And so a lot of times, and especially, and this has been the hardest one, has been my Black family, my Black people. Let me tell you how difficult this has been. Okay, so I go online and I find that somebody has done this wonderful interview, or like I'm reading something about them, like an article or something, and I go put in their name on Google, and they don't have a website. They don't have a way to contact them. I'm losing my freaking mind because I spent 30 minutes looking for you and I can't find you. So are your clients going to be able to find you? And do I want to interview you if I'm sending people your way and you don't have a way for them to reach out to you? So I've lost my mind. You don't even understand.
Or you go to Twitter
like,
and then they don't have a URL on their Twitter account. Because at least on your Twitter, you should have your website there. Every social media asks for your website. LinkedIn asks for it. Twitter asks for it. Everybody asks for the URL in there. So you should at least, and I said, fill out, if you're going to have social media, fill out all the stuff they ask you what to fill out. Fill it all out. And if it asks for a website and you don't have one, well, maybe you don't need a social media yet. Maybe you need to get the website first. And I said, your website, sometimes you could just have one page. You could, for right now, you could do one page. Do one page. Maybe it's a picture of your logo, picture of you, what you do, an email box that says, join my email list, or you'll get more updates when I finish my website. I don't know, but something so that people will know you're there. Buy the domain. Go to GoDaddy, buyyourname.com. I'm PamPerryPR.com. At Pam Perry wasn't available, so I had to do PamPerryPR.com. And then, go to get at WPX or, HostGator. I don't know, wherever you want it. One of the hosting companies. Don't host with GoDaddy, because GoDaddy is good for domain names. They're not so much good for hosting. So go to a hosting company and get your hosting. It's just sometimes it just makes sense, like you go here for this, you go here for that, you go here for this. And then sometimes it says, well, I got everything all at, I don't know, a one-stop shop. I got everything at ClickFunnels. I got my domain, I got my server, I got everything. I said, well, what are they in business for? And they're like, I don't know. But it looks good online. Yeah, it does. But at a certain point in time when you get into trouble and say they go away or their host goes down, you can't call your hosting because you don't host it, they host it and they're down. I mean, so it's just a lot. But African American Black people, they really need to get on the digital bandwagon, the digital train, and really learn this stuff really, really good. I mean,
Yeah.
I've had people that that do things. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna give people a download. Okay, well, they could give me their email address and then they'll download it. It's like, okay. So if you have a website, they could download it from your website, but then they'll send somebody to like a Dropbox. I'm like, why am I going to, you don't even, why you're sending them to Dropbox? At least if they download it from your website, they're on your website. Because the whole point of a website is to get traffic, get activity, to get people there in your home. You send them to a Dropbox to download it from, just like I said, you could jerry rig it and it can work. Yeah, they'll get the free gift from the Dropbox, but send them to the website. That way, on that page, there's another thing on there that says, here's a blog you can read or here's a podcast you can listen to. It's to get traffic. That's the whole point. So I just always like, yeah,
I
that's
had to
that's
laugh while you
me.
were talking because what you're saying is so simple, and yet it's not common sense. It's not something you sit there and think about. Like you're like, you just you need a website. Like even if it's just a page, just go to Twitter. Just put in your information so people can. And it's tripped me out how long it's taken me to look for somebody and still not be able to find them. So for those of you who are entrepreneurs, those of you who are looking to scale your business, for those of you who are looking to get known, you want people to know you for what you do. You want to get on podcasts, you want to do stuff like that. You have programs for people because you mentioned membership. Can you just tell us a little bit about how a person can find you to work with you?
Yeah, they ready set go speak.com. That is my membership program. It's like I'm your PR department, I guess you would say monthly. People pay monthly and they have access to me bi-weekly where they can actually ask me questions, but there's also a course in there that takes people from A to Z. It's 12 modules. It's called Branding Accelerator. That's in there to understand the brand. So even if you do have your own website, how did you name your website? Well, my website is Adrien the number one Blackwell, but it's really like dot guru or dot net or this and that. So you're explaining too much of something that should be simple, that rolls off your tongue. So it's like the branding is so simple. Like Google is simple. It's a one. So anyway, so they go through the module. There's a forum where people can ask questions. The modules go through how to write a bio, how to set up a photo shoot, how to get your book published, how to get on podcasts, how to set up a podcast.
Oh,
I have media friends in there, and there's 9 media buddies of mine that tell people what they're looking for on their platforms. Like, what if you want to get on my media outlet, this is what we need. We need this, and this is why. Okay, so then there. And then I also have a vault. And then the vault is broken down where they have ebooks, they have templates, they have worksheets, they have all the things that they need. There's nothing that they will ever need. The only thing that they will need is once they go through some of the materials is that they can ask me questions and I can answer them so they get on the right track. They even show them like examples of some of my past campaigns so they can kind of mimic that. There's a podcast directory in there so they can pitch podcasts every week in the forum. I'm giving them media leads so they can pitch to. It's my one-stop shop. I want to do it so that especially my people, Black people, can just not be clueless. And so I said, I've been doing this for 3 decades and all the information is in there. Publicity, podcasting, here's a piece, publishing. There's just partnerships because you need to know how to get sponsorships and what a sponsorship deck should look like. That's in there as well. I mean, so no matter what phase someone is in, they can start in there at their own pace and learn different things. Or if they're accelerated, I have some people that are in it that they've been on like 30 podcasts already. And like I told you, the other lady had 25,000 people on Instagram. So, I tell them what a website should look like, what it should look like, what an EPK is, and how to put together electronic press kit. So all that is in there, but it's almost like you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is put together so that it takes you through the course first. And then Rodney, I interviewed him yesterday. He says, you know what? It was the things you said in there. He says, I didn't even know I didn't know. He says, I knew I could speak. I was a great speaker. He said, but now I know I needed a one sheet. I needed a speaker reel. I didn't know where to get one. I didn't even know what it was supposed to look like. Once you're exposed to something, you're good and you know why. Now you have an example. If I just say, someone, you can't just like have a magic wand, like, okay, just make me famous, just make me famous. It's like, no, you need some work to do first. You need a website. You needed to get this, you need to get that. And so they're like, I need all that first. Yes, you need all that first. You need to get a book. How do you get the book published? Where do you get an editor? I give them all the stuff that they need because there's no excuses. Like, I don't know where to get how to do my social media. We have program managers that can help with that. I have a content writer. I don't know how to write a blog. I have a content manager. She can help you with that. So
Mm-hmm.
there's no excuses. So at any point in time when someone says, well, they come to me and say, well, I want to get on Oprah. Okay. All right. So you want to get on Oprah. Let's see. Let's start at the beginning. What's your domain name? What's your website look like? How many people do you have on your email list? What does your EPK look like? What does your bio sound like? What do your pictures look like? I mean, just like all these things, it can't be done in a month. It may take them 6 months, maybe a year to get all the pieces together and build their platform. That's what I'm saying. It's like building your platform, a platform or a brand. Brand takes time. My brand is 20 years old. Pam Perry PR is 20 years old. So a lot of people say, oh, you got, you know, 25,000 people on LinkedIn. You got 25,000 on Twitter. And this, yeah, but it didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It happened for the client because her account was hacked because of what it was saying, and she kind of let people know what was going on, and so now people were curious and they went on
Uh-huh.
and they, it was any kind of controversy was that kind of thing, and so with hers it's a little bit different, but for most people it's a slow build. It's like losing weight. Yeah, you can probably do a lot straight out the gate and build really a fast, uh, I guess, following, but will it last and sustain and become customers? So maybe
Mhm.
you do something really, I don't know, viral. I don't know, just something crazy, and it goes viral. But you can't do something viral that like a viral video every day
Yeah.
for your business. So I always tell people, I said the slow steady wins the race. That's really the main thing, and being consistent, knowing your message, knowing your audience, and just talking to them. I mean, realistically, people only probably need what, 30 at the most, maybe 30 customers, clients a year. So take care of those 30 and build your business. And those 30 will tell some other people, then you got some more. You know what I'm saying? It's just like people overthink it, but it's really take care of the smaller things. I always tell people, I said they like social media because it's the dopamine. You get the like, get all this.
Quick
Woo.
fix.
Yeah, you get your little like, ooh, this is really, people are watching me. I'm popular. I'm like, oh my God, now we got high school, right? I'm popular. It's like, oh, okay. So now we got somebody who's a class clown and this and that, or what. I was like, oh, okay. But is that really business? So I always tell people, I said, just really understand what it is that your real goals are and stick with that. Be consistent. You don't have to be. I'm on every social media because I have to try them so that I can recommend them to clients. But my preferred one is really LinkedIn. I like LinkedIn the best. That's the one,
Mhm.
that's where most of my business comes from. Instagram is the nemesis. I mean, everybody's on Instagram, but is so filled with quote unquote everybody wanting to be influencers. I go in there for comic relief half the time because it's like folks highlight reel of their life, right? It's like, whew, yeah, okay, and it's like people that I really know. I was like, oh my goodness, I said if they really knew what was going on in her life, right? It's like it's not on the ground, right? It's like, oh, okay. So I don't really pay attention, but LinkedIn is where business is because people can see my podcast there. I do LinkedIn Live. I write articles. It's about business. You know.
Awesome.
Mhm.
We are coming to the end of our interview. Do you have a free gift for people that they can
Yes,
sign up
yes,
for? Can you tell us
yes,
a little bit about that?
yes. It is, well, we talked about media, right? So what are the 7 things that media want in order to get on these television shows? So I have a free video that people can watch, and it talks about the 7 things that they need and why and what they should do. So one of it is the EPK. I talked about that. One of it is a bio, and I talked about what should be in a bio. And so if you go to pamperrypr.com, put in your name and your email, and you get that. But I also have something new that I just did today. You can go to pamperrypr.com/ebook, and then you can get the ebook. It's called Be Heard, Get Out There and Get Known. So I've been working on that for the last couple of weeks since we talked, but it's finally there. So it's finally there. So go to pamperrypr.com/ebook.
And all you guys have to do is scroll down this page. If you're watching this on the launch day of this video, you scroll down, you click on the button, and it will take you straight to it. All you got to do is put in your information and get it right then and there. So make sure you are, taking your notes. Make sure you go sign up. Make sure you follow through on this, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because this makes it so much easier. This is what you're sharing is something that, took years and years and years to learn, and listening to you, I'm still learning stuff. So I'm like, it's a lot easier. People just go and just pay you to learn it overnight.
Yeah,
Whether that's a month or 6 months is a lot easier than 20 years. That's all I'm saying.
it is. It really is. Thank you. And it'll be a lot less money, right? Because
Yeah.
I paid a lot of money going to buying books and conferences and education, and oh my God. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I really try to give people the shortcut so that they can learn it and learn it right. Do it right the first time.
Yeah.
Adrien, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, and thank you for all this information. And everybody, make sure you tune in tomorrow, because this is not over. We are coming with more information, more wonderful speakers. All you have to do is show up tomorrow for Make Miracles Happen. Same time, same place. I will see you there.